Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Survivor Becomes a Dungeon. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 24. Unknown Point of View. I awake to the sounds of screams, disoriented and confused. I'm not sure if what I'm hearing is my imagination or reality, as those tend to blur in my weakest moments. It was in the next moment, before I could consider sitting up, that a spray of lead tore through the sheet metal wall above me, and the next moment I rolled off the bunk in the sleeping area I was allowed to borrow from the contractors. Heck! I knew I should have stayed dressed last night. I reach up and grab my sidearm and knife from under my pillow. I'm only wearing a decently hand-stitched pair of black cotton pajama pants, and I'm still cursing myself for it. The screams and cries of battle still sound out, and I have to shake my head to clear the distractions. Now's not the time to whine. Get off your ass! Crawling forward, I push onto my knees and peek out the shack's window. This farming community I've been staying in for the last couple of weeks is burning. A truck has reversed hard into the fortified gates, driving a wedge between us and the outside. From here, I can only see 3 aggressors, but more's fighting elsewhere. My breathing quickens, and I mash my fist against my chest to trick an adrenaline rush. Feeling awake enough and wired to put my life on the line, I rush outside into the crisp evening air. Molotovs usually scorched against the mostly metal structures, though a greenhouse is already lost. My bare feet kick up dirt, and I step over a person who was proudly showing off carrots to me 3 days ago. Ducking around a corner and running up to the edge of the wall, my back is flush against the cold, corrugated metal of a storehouse. The fighting is still going, the other survivors doing their best to hold back and drive off the bandits. I hear the chuckling and rummaging in the storehouse. These bastards aren't even waiting to start their looting. My knuckles go white as I clench the grip of my blade. Crouching lower, I launch forward and slip through the careless, toss-open doorway. I don't even take time to look out over the beast before me. My foot met the back of his knee as he crumples with a yelp. However, I don't allow him to fall to the ground, following up as I plunge my blade hard into the side of his neck. He's not dead yet, though, as I use the blade as a point of leverage, my gun arm hooked around his forehead before quickly twisting and releasing him at the declaration of a sickening crunch. His glazed eyes look up at me, while the rest of him lays flat on his stomach. My body is coated with a fresh splash of warmth, though I know it won't stay that way for long as I head out to the fray again. I vault over some crates and make a beeline towards where I hear most of the combat. Nearly tripping over someone's son, I just finished giving him advice on his rifle last week. Foolishly, I let my focus tunnel as I crash into another bandit. We fall to the ground, wrestling with one another before I roll them into a pin as I twist their arm behind their back. However, this one I recognized, and I hear the blood pounding in my ears as I remember her face. You bitch! What are you doing here? Her eyes widened in terror. She had seen what I could do. After all, I saved her ass, along with 2 of her friends, from a small swarm. It is now that I realize this attack was my fault. They knew we were here because I let the guy I was escorting allow them to tag along to stock up on supplies. She immediately starts sputtering, panicking, and she shakes her head. It's not my fault. They made me do it. I didn't want to come back here. I swear. I narrow my gaze at her, though the moment I'm distracted by the continuous fighting around me, her free arm shoots out to grab my fallen gun. I wrench her shoulder out of its socket as she screams out, "Don't bother! Your words are meaningless." I don't waste time on her, pushing her away as I scoop up my pistol, even as she tries to crawl away. I fire off a single round and finish her, barely sparing a glance to make sure my aim is on point. I scoop up my blade and keep moving forward, finally finding them near the front of the gate as I come up behind the aggressors. They've got the other survivors pinned inside the mess hall, and thankfully, they seem to have managed to get a scrap of metal tables barricaded up against the main entrance. The bandits are unwilling to get closer, mainly because they don't have the straightforward way to get inside. They are taking potshots from behind the cover of a tractor and some empty crates meant to be used as delivery for vegetables next week. Bodies are scattered between where I stand and the mess hall. Luckily, I don't recognize most of them as I close in on the remaining 4 bandits. A shot rings out, and there are just 3 left. Moving forward with a brutal efficiency, I step out and start strafing from right to the next piece of cover as I bury a round at a woman's back before following up with a shot to the back of her head before she can realize that she was already dead. I quickly dive into some tall grass, the sturdy plants scratching against my bare skin. The man next to her panics at how she suddenly went out, recoiling as she crumpled into a heap, and taking a step out from cover as one of the other survivors took advantage, the report of a rifle dooming the bastard. The last guy seems to realize he is alone, and he looks at me as I rush out of the grass. Dropping his shotgun, he attempts to hold up his hands, blubbering for surrender. However, I didn't hear his words, as I spotted an older woman who had such innovative ideas and taught me a new recipe for napalm. I ended his blubbering and wasted 2 more rounds because I needed it. The silence was deafening as I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. Absently, I tried to wipe the blood off my face, only smearing it some more as I whistled out of the all clear. Come on, guys. Everyone, we got fires to put out, and we need to get ready for the roamers who doubtlessly heard the shit. Jack's point of view the next day. Oh, I sees it's a field trip day, Jack called out in amusement as he flitted down to land on Basty's back. Basty huffs in a vague annoyance at Jack's arrival and half-heartedly swipes at him with her tail. Jack barely takes a half a step to avoid the tail as he whistles a laugh. The cubs are no longer cubs, they're adolescent elemental prowlers, or teens, as it were. The 4 look around with more attention and awareness, flashing feline smiles as they seem to murr and chatter to each other. Jack snickers as he eavesdrops on them. Yeah, milk and honey just fall straight out of the sky. Crazy, I know, he teased mischievously. The blue-furred teen cat looked very much like she believed what Jack just told her, but the black-furred teen cat just nudged her and shook his head, much to Jack's delight. Jack continued as he fluttered his wings for no apparent reason. You'll get to see what trees look like from the bottom soon enough. And you know what? I'll even get some fruits for you all to try out, that you'll all get to eat some real food. He enthused, being kinder now that he's had some fun. At that, the red-furred teen cat did excited little tappy-taps with her paws while they walked, seeming especially eager about the idea of food out of everyone here. The white-furred teen cat chuffed in response to his eagerness. The black-furred teen cat hung near the back of the group. He's still eager to be out with this new, more mature and grown-up mental capacity. But to better appreciate the taste of what he got to see before all the others, he decided to take his time and walk mostly at his own pace. Jack spoke up once again as they descended the mountain. So, where are you going first? Basti hummed in thought before letting out a low roll in response. That's so boring. Take them to haven of people. You need them to interact with the people, or they're going to be unsociable weirdos to the people they're meant to protect. Jack chastised with uncharacteristic seriousness, pecking at Basti's ear to admonish her first choice. Basti was somewhat stunned by Jack's sensibility, merely flicked her ear instead of trying to swipe at him for what he did. After another moment, she gave a meow of consideration before relenting to what Jack suggested. Zassita point of view. Zassita was enjoying his breakfast. Today was some forest fruits, along with some new fruits that Org had told the foragers about. The fruits, in general, had been gently roasted over the fire and served on some boiled wild grains. He scooped up some of the meal out of the bowl with a hand-carved wooden spoon, just savoring the filling meal quietly, until Cinco sat beside him with his bowl. "Morning, shepherd," Cinco said pleasantly, tucking into his meal. "If you don't mind me asking, I've been noticing that you head up the mountain a couple of days in a row now. Is there something happening?" he asked, being unabashedly inquisitive. Zassiter tilted his head a bit before flashing his pearly white teeth with a smile.
I've had the honor to train with one of Thitmori's warriors. So far I've used a sword and a shield and a mace. We're supposed to return the sword again before trying out spears.
He explained animatedly, clearly excited about what he's been up to. Cinco, while initially concerned, now seemed relieved and even delighted by how cheerful the shepherd was. I see. That sounds like quite an experience, the rabbitkin said pleasantly, with a nod. Zassiter was about to go on and talk about dread, but was interrupted by a hand on his shoulder as he looked over to see Xanatl. The lizardkin guardswoman flashed her fangs in a smile. You've been carrying yourself more confidently, shepherd. If you're interested, perhaps we could spar together and see how you're coming along, she offered, her hand still on his shoulder. Now, Zassiter was undoubtedly a very old man. Looking up at Xanatl, he seemed to realize just how beautiful she is, and he also became very aware of his own practically perfect body as he could feel his heart thumping in his chest.
Yes, I think I'd quite like that. Thank you.
Xanatar smiled a little wider, gently rubbing Zassiter's shoulder once before patting it as she pulled away. Her tail swayed more noticeably with each step as she got her food and went elsewhere in the camp. Cinco smirked like a fool as he watched the range of expressions flash across Zassiter's face. Almost moments after Xanatar was out of sight, Vertisa walked up, clutching her pack in her chest as a form of support, and spoke up. Hi, Shepherd. So sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if But she didn't get to finish stammering through her request when a young shriek pierced the morning calm of the camp. The fighters got to their feet in response, looking around for the danger. They then see little Org running as fast as the little legs can take her from the eating area as she shrieks out again, Kitties! End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrekahl, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon W.R.E, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.